Good afternoon. Really just a continuation from Saturday. I had a chance to watch it on film, talk to our kids. We had a team meeting on Monday, and one of the things I've always said is, film never lies. And one of the things I really tried to stress to those guys on Monday night in the meeting was, I watch the game as they watch the game unfold. You're on the field, you're on the sidelines, you see certain things and they stick in your mind, but nothing gives a better indication of what our opponents are going to see better than that film. And on film, you could see some things that need to be cleaned up, some very, very good things that are very positive, but also some things that need to get cleaned up that our opponents are going to have the same opportunity to see next fall. And really try to get them to understand the things that stop you from losing, almost to a point where we work on everything trying to become a better football team, but the thing that we have to eliminate from our program altogether are the things that prohibit you from winning. Turnovers, unforced errors, unforced penalties, playing behind the chains, not capitalizing on a good field position, all the little things that make us better in the long run. So I think for us to move forward, those things are going to be very, very positive, and hopefully continue to make us grow. You'll have a chance to visit with these handsome young devils here in a minute about everything, but I thought our guys overall really, really grew. I thought the 15 practices were capitalized and moved in the right direction, and hopefully are going to be a positive for us moving forward. Really, from a personnel standpoint, nothing dramatic or drastic has changed. No surprises. Really, the only people that won't be with us in the fall from our conversation at this point are all the guys that we talked about. Kelvin Fisher, I don't know if I've officially ever addressed that. He accumulated enough hours to graduate so he can use the transfer rule and transfer out of here and have 2 years to play right away. A couple guys that have been removed from the program, Horace Arcadine, DKT, Daryl Kelly Thomas, those guys expressed some interest to transfer, but there's nothing solidified on them. And then really that Nathan Crouch, who was a walk-on, he'll transfer out here, but I've removed him from the team anyways for conduct detrimental to the team. But other than that, everybody's status quo. With that, open it up for any questions. Did Duab seem to embrace wide receiver? I think a little bit more. What we ended up doing was a slow process. I suggested it. Kind of went back and forth for a couple days there, but the last 2 weeks, he concentrated solely at wide receiver, and I had a conversation with him and his family on Saturday after the game. They were going to obviously have some conversations to continue the process, but in talking with Michael Smith in his exit interview with Duop, he seemed very, very positive and said he was going to come back and try the wide receiver position and move forward, but I'm not going to make him do anything he doesn't want to do. And I also did share with him if he wanted to move on, I'd work with him in any capacity to help him find a home if he truly wanted to stay with the quarterback. But I think it's moving in the right direction. And I think Saturday, if you asked anybody leaving the stadium who might have made an impression on you, I think he'd probably be one of 2 or 3 guys that were mentioned just because of the things he was able to catch and do with the football.
When you look, 20,000 fewer people as compared to last year in the stands in the spring game, what does that say to you about where the program is as far as interest, and does it put, what kind of extra pressure does that put on you?
I don't look at it in the light that you do. I try to look at it in a positive light that there's a lot of people that showed up and gave great support to the program. I think in the world of college football, we're always trying to compare numbers, where I just try to compare feelings, and I couldn't be more excited about where we're going. I've been to Razorback clubs all over the state, and people that are attending those things are very, very positive, and everybody wants to win, and everybody's entitled to their feelings and their urgency to do that, but I can't speed up the process of getting what we need to do to win. I'm excited. I think these guys in the room are excited. Their teammates are very, very anxious because we know that we're a better team than we were a year ago at this time.
What has the spring done as far as adjusting your expectations about this upcoming season?
What has the spring done to adjust? It hasn't adjusted. No, I think I'm probably more confident today than I have ever been that this is a team that takes every day for what it is, has gotten themselves better. Nobody wanted to go 3-9, but the results of last year's season are nothing more than a great motivator for this year's season. And for me as a head coach, that's not going to waver. Nathan, that probably has a lot to do with each individual guy. I mean, obviously last year we used Kiro in certain ways in the fullback, and some quick hits that we can get to him. Well, if this year we don't have that same type of guy, that automatically takes that play or those schemes out. I think between our top three tailbacks, between Jay Will and Alex and Corliss, all of them have shown they're explosive with the ball in their hands, and if we can get them the ball by throwing it, that's even better. I think everybody wants to throw the ball more efficiently at overall, not just to the running backs, but to our tight ends, our wide receivers, and everybody else. So I think that's an area that continue to grow. And we didn't exactly showcase everything on Saturday, by choice. We didn't feel that because of where we are, some of the new plays we've been working on all spring, it's just better to leave some of those things out of it, and that would be some of those plays.
Coach, what's it like? How exciting is it for you to have three running backs of their caliber and talent?
Again, it's very exciting. I think last year, as I just remember it, going into the spring, obviously Jonathan had done some things before we had gotten here, but to get into I just think about last spring and where we're at, where Jay Will and Kiro were two very, very talented backs. Thought we had at least a one deep there, but didn't really know where we went after that, just because Alex wasn't here, Corliss wasn't here, Denzel Washington wasn't here, Cody was kind of coming back from his injury. So I think now in the conclusion of spring ball to know, Jay Will is I think entered spring ball and did some things that were very, very positive. Realized that he's a guy that is very talented, explosive, powerful. I think Alex has continued to show us. Alex might have had his best month in our program. Just had to wake him up on several areas away from the game, and hopefully that carried over a little bit. I know his numbers didn't match to Jay Will and Corliss on Saturday, but he had the longest run call back with a holding. So it's not that we're disappointed or anything like that. I think he's a kid that he's nowhere scratch the surface how good he can be. The most exciting guy, obviously, is just Corliss, because he is really unscratched, in his potential. Didn't even really work with the running backs during the fall camp. He worked with them part-time during the fall. He started to get things rolling a little bit in the spring, but was set back with about a week or two with being out of it. And I think it's very easy to recognize from everybody on our team as well as in the stands, and that he's a very explosive player. So those three guys are good players. It's a good issue to have. But on the flip side of it, every championship season I've ever been involved with, we've been involved as a team. It's had three running backs, not one, not two, not. It's always been three. And I think those three, in addition, I think Cody Walker brings some things as well. So that's very exciting.
You mentioned possibly playing two of them at once, not using the fullback. Would this be then using the tailback as a fullback, or split backs, or just spread out?
I think obviously that's what I hired Jim Chaney for, and our offensive coaches. I think Joel's had combination of guys in that as well. Obviously last year we had Kira involved in kind of a little wildcat package, if you will. We called it hog, but wild hog. But it's something that definitely is intriguing, and if we can do it, I would say that Corliss might bring some skills that you could use him maybe somewhere other than tailback as well on the field, whether it be as a slot receiver or a motion guy or somebody that have a little bit of nuance to the offense.
Do you try to talk to them and alleviate any concerns about playing time, or do you just tell them work your butts off?
Well, I think right now, as in spring ball, Joel Thomas had an exit interview with all three of those guys and expressed, that he was excited. I think he kind of labeled them 1A, 1B, 1C. All three of them are ones in our book. That's why I put them all with the first unit. I just thought I wanted them to know that that's where we kind of see them going in the spring game, and all of them bring valuable assets. But as all running backs do, they all want the ball. I get it. I understand it. And it's our job as coaches to distribute it. But on the flip side of it, you're going to get what you deserve, and what you show during practice, what you show during the course of the game. I've said this publicly, and I mean this with all respect. And obviously, Jay Will sitting over there. My only regret towards the end of the year was that we didn't use him more, because he definitely, in my opinion, is one of the few players on our team that got stronger as the year went on. And I think as coaches, we got to recognize that and be able to go to it.
Hey, Bret, how do you feel about center and left guard having flux all spring? How do you feel the last couple of weeks?
I think if we had to play a game tomorrow, Mitch Smothers would be our starting center, and our left guard would probably be Grady Allison. But on the flip side of it, I think Charpentier and the possibility of Cordell Boyd could pop in there as well. But that's just how I would say it. You might get a different answer out of out of Sam. You might get a different answer out of the left tackle and the right guard too, who play right next to him, as well as BA, who's going to get the snap. But I think competition brings the best out of people. So those two positions, I think, are solidified with the guys that we have on our team. I think left guard probably a little bit more up in the air, but I would say that between 3 of the 4 offensive linemen coming in the fall and this summer, it's going to be a wide open race for them to kind of see if they can be a little bit like what Denver and Dan Skipper gave us a year ago.
So those two spots are still unsettled.
Not as unsettled as maybe before spring. I think Mitch got better every game or every practice. We started off with Sharp and DA, and then we went a little bit more to Cordell, and then I think Mitch was the most prominent at that position in the long run. And I would say Grady, when Grady's on, is probably our best option at left guard.
Could you talk about the spring game and the spring for Hunter Henry?
I think the difference for Hunter, and just from my perspective, and obviously Coach Lundy works with him on a daily basis, Coach Chaney are excited. I think the best thing that can happen to Hunter is the evolution of A.J. Derby and Sprinkle and Volsky, to be quite honest. Don't forget that Mitch Lavin was out because of an injury, but it's been my opinion that tight ends are very similar to running backs and very similar to wide receivers, and to be quite honest, at quarterbacks and every other offensive position, it's always good to have one, but it's really good when you got 2 or 3. And I think that now Hunter goes to work every day and realizes A.J. Derby can all of a sudden start taking more of my reps. Jeremy Sprinkle got better every day. Volsky's playing as good as he's playing. That's only going to make us better. And then if you go to sets and formations that have 2 tight ends on the field, it's a tough matchup issue for defenses. I think about all the time of all the great tight ends I've been around in good offenses, it's been when we've had more than one tight end that can play the position with any type of speed, with any type of vertical threat in the passing game, and those things make everybody a little bit better. No, B. Lou, I just saw him downstairs in the training room. He had the surgery earlier today. Everything went positive. He just had he had a pre-existing knee condition. Goes back actually to me being here prior, and I'll give a lot of credit to B. Lou. He's a very tough. Keeps it to himself. He doesn't say a lot to begin with, but even when he's injured, he keeps it even more quiet. And I was getting a little bit of heat down there. It should be a full recovery. I think from a medical standpoint, I don't think anybody else from a surgery standpoint. The one guy that didn't get to participate in the spring was Tevin Mitchell. Tevin Mitchell had a routine shoulder surgery that he should be back with us. If not the first part of fall camp, very soon thereafter. Doctors are very encouraged. It was a clean surgery, very routine. Something that I've had a lot of our guys do in the past that shouldn't be in a factor 100 at all. And I will say this about Tevin, and I know he spoke up to his teammates. If there was one guy during the course of the spring that changed everything about who he is and what he can be was Tevin. I'm very, very excited to get him back in the fall. He had the hamstring first and was actually coming back from that, and then injured his shoulder.
You said the assistant coaches had exit interviews with their groups. Do you come back before school lets out and do the same, or do you sit with them as well?
As a coach, I'll bring in guys just periodically that I feel we need to have a conversation. We have a set meeting every year in January, February when I get done with recruiting. But these guys, I'll kind of grab them individually, call them on the phone, maybe have a conversation with them. Hey, can you come see me? Just about different things. Whether it be leadership. A lot of these guys that are in the room right now are also on our Hawk Council that I'll meet with individually, that kind of our voice with the team when we're not in session. So a little bit of give and take. The only reason my coaches did it in a hurry, they all hit the road on Tuesday. We had about a 36-hour window after spring ball was done to have a conversation. They all have a checkout card that they got to go through academically, medically, physically with Herbs and in the training room as well before they get out of town, and their coaches just kind of went through that procedure.
You mentioned on the conference call that the secondary improved, especially the corner. Just how much more aggressive is that
I don't know if it allows us to play aggressively defensive calls or anything like that. It's just the way they're being taught. It's the way they're being instructed. I think one of the things Rob and I were on the same page early on when I began to have conversations with him about becoming our defensive coordinator is he really believes in challenging receivers at the line of scrimmaging, being able to, he always says, dictate the daylight. These defensive players are probably tired of him saying it. Rob probably takes an offensive approach to defense as well as he can. He really tries to set the tone defensively at what you are allowed to do offensively by the way they align, and make offense play a little bit left-handed. So I can't. It's not going to make us blitz more or do anything like that, but it allows a corner simply to play his base technique with a lot more aggressive and a lot more physical attitude.
Can't believe we've done this long without asking a quarterback question, but the confidence level, you've been so high on Brandon all throughout the spring. Is it still the same coming out of the spring game?
It is.
Clear number one option?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was excited about coming into the spring was to actually have obviously a healthy BA, but also to have better players around him. It's been and I learned this actually from Russell Wilson. I think as a coach, you get better by the more players you coach and the experiences. And when I sat down with Russell after the season, I said, hey, when it got down to it, why was it us over Auburn? And he said, I think that you had a better core of players around me that I knew I could have success here, and that makes me really think about the team that we field around your starting quarterback. He's got to have confidence in them, which allows him to play a little bit better. I also do firmly believe that the starting quarterback position, you can say whatever you want, it's completely different than anybody else on the field. They get entirely too much credit when they win, and they get entirely too much blame when we lose. So it's kind of like a head coach as well, and it's something that we share together. But on the flip side of it, I will say this: I was in Wynne, Arkansas last night, and a person asked me a question about the quarterbacks, and I didn't like the way the question was phrased. And one of the things I said to this individual was this: the more I'm in my position and the more success we begin to have, I would realize that the quarterback, unlike any other position, he tends to play at a level that he believes the head coach and the coaches have confidence in him. And I think BA and everybody on offense would tell you that we believe in him and we have a lot of faith in him, and he doesn't make a throw with the question in the back of his head: if I don't get a 3rd and 8 throw here, am I going to get pulled or am I going to get replaced? And I think that goes a long way for a quarterback.
You saying on Brady is hogging knees?
What's that?
You mentioned the phrase the other day, hogging knees.
I did.
Explain what that is.
Hoganese is a verbiage in a language that's only unique to everybody on this side of the room. It's a language that's spoke for us to understand and our opponents not to. It's a language that the better we can speak it more efficiently and be able to understand what it means to condense our communication at the line of scrimmage and allow us to play with the most aggressive, physical, and fast tempo. That's what it is. There's words that mean something in everyday language that is completely different in Hoganese, and Hoganese was just a way that I kind of created a word. It sounds obviously like Chinese, Japanese, Lithuanese, Taiwanese, whatever you want to say. Hoganese is, I'm not sure of all those other languages I just rattled off, but it's something our guys have had some fun with, and it's definitely made us a better program.
You mentioned the NCAA allows you to.
Yeah.
What were the changes the NCAA allowed?
I met with our Hog Council, and I mentioned it briefly to our players the other day. And what the NCAA has allowed us to do is you have a certain number of hours during the summer that you can that you can utilize to work with your players. So the strength coaches could. That's only, until this year, that was the only crew that could work with them. We as coaches couldn't, assistants, whatever. But this year, what they've allowed us to do is have a 6-to-2 ratio. We won't use that much. Herbs will have 7 hours. We'll have an hour where we can sit down and visit with our players. My assistants will take the first 3 weeks, and then myself and the coordinators will take the 4th week, and then they'll get a couple weeks off without actually hogging knees, where they can have double time with Herbs in the weight room, and then we'll bring it full circle. But it's something I think our players really responded to, and hopefully are going to be the same way in the summer.
Back to Brandon, after you watched film about Saturday, what did you see the major difference in the first half and the second half?
I would say the first half, it wasn't, BA could throw the ball. He had a couple high balls. I think he'll be the first to admit it. But I think in the first half overall, and I'll take the blame as a head coach, we had a long break from flex to when we went on the field, and it wasn't game day. So you're trying to experience game day atmosphere, but on the same account, it's not the game day. So There was a little bit of a break there. I think everybody kind of came out in a lull. I think the defense played aggressively, which might have had a bigger part of it. In the second half, we didn't know how much we were going to use our number ones in the third quarter, but the way we played in the first half offensively, I said, hey, we're going to keep the ones in there throughout the third quarter and see where they get. And BA got on time, on rhythm. I think there was a couple throws that showed that. There was a play action over the middle that was a great play to Keon that I think is a routine play that should be fitting well into our offense. He hit that with full stride, not just him, but the other 9 players besides Keon and BA were really, really good on that play, and that shows when we're all working together, we got a chance to have success.
Willis Marshall mentioned that he wanted to get up to 220 pounds on that season, somewhere around 200 now. Is that ambitious?
It's probably ambitious. I think Corliss, well, all he's saying is I think he feels he wants to get a little bit thicker, a little bigger. Corliss is a kid that plays a lot off of emotion. The neat thing about Corliss, he came from a program that really he did a little bit of everything. He hadn't really concentrated in the weight room, and really because of the way we used him coming into fall camp, he didn't know if he was going to be on offense or defense, and he's beginning to find a home on offense at running back and get him settled into that. And if he puts on 20, I could see 10 pounds, just because of eating right and training right, and actually I think he could become faster with weight. And again, Jovan Pruitt, junior college. Yeah. No, nothing been finalized. I think when we recruited Jovan, we knew that he was a kid that had us. When you recruit someone, you know what their GPA is, you know what their test score is, and everything that goes into it. He's a great kid out of Bishop Dunn High School, and they do a tremendous job there. He wasn't a qualifier when the time when we signed, but that was something that we decided to do. So if he doesn't make it, then we've got plans set in place for him to go to a junior college and for us to be able to obviously continue to recruit him from that point forward.
How could you feel about the defensive progress and the mentality of Rob?
These guys will be a better indicator of what they're thinking. But from an outsider, from a head coach that knows kind of what Rob was all about before he came here, and to see him install his scheme or his verbiage and his language, I always say this all the time. Rob is he's a very intense guy. He's very short and very angry a lot of the time. But the part that I love about what he does and what he brings is he really wants guys just to maximize their strengths. I think he made these guys understand there's going to be accountability for your actions, that they have to believe and have faith in what they're being told, that as coaches they're going to try to put them in the best position, and have faith in that. Don't question it, just believe it. That's happened. I think Clay Jennings single-handedly has probably had an effect on our DB room as positive as I've ever seen a coach have in a short amount of time. He's a detailed teacher. He cares. He does a great job, I think, of balancing the fun of football with the business of football. I couldn't be happier with those two hires. And then, to be quite honest, to have Roy Segrist to jump in the middle, to have 3 or 4 new coaches on defense, Randy to be the only constant voice that was in there from a year ago, to have that room come together as well as they have in a short amount of time, and to have the defense play that well, I think it's hopefully a sign of only getting better.
You talk about Dietrich's performance, especially looking at the tape.
Dietrich's performance on the field, besides his little celebrations. I think the part about Dietrich is he's a kid with unbelievable talent, a lot of God-given ability, who has begun to scratch the surface of how good he can be. He flashed last year and continued to do during the course of the spring. We actually moved him from R to E and then back and forth on the last game. He is definitely showing great signs. He uses his hands. He's got great separation. It's just got to be consistent on first, second, and third down. And we've always known he's got ability to flash and do some good things. He plays with a great personality, which I think if he gets that under control is only going to benefit all of us. But somebody I know, Coach Segrist in particular, is very, very excited about.
That's why we didn't get to
Yeah.
see a lot of him. I know you had a plan. You mentioned that maybe some tight end. Did you ever work to that, or is that something you fall
With Trey in particular, yeah. No, when Trey and I sat down back in December a year ago, and since that point we had a plan that we really never deviated from since he's gotten here. On Saturdays, he knew he wasn't going to get scrimmage work, but he worked every other day of the week as hard as anybody. I think the size, he's gotten a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. That's going to help him play in the fall. As far as helping us on offense, I know it's something that he's agreed to do, and we'll get into that in the in fall camp as well. We just wanted to, limit to what we were going to do. We didn't have anybody playing on either side of the ball, switching during the course of the fall camp. I think there's a couple guys on defense that the offensive guys have expressed interest in. On the flip side of it, we might grab a couple of offensive players for certain situations on defense in the fall. One position change that I had a conversation yesterday with Mitch Lavin, a tight end that has played defense here in the past, and he expressed interest. He wanted to play Mike linebacker for me, and I vetoed that idea, but I am going to let him try defensive line. He's going to try defensive end during the summer and then roll it into the fall, because he is a big body, and at the defensive end position, although I'm very happy with the guys we have there, we probably need a little bit of depth, and he's going to be able to roll into that spot.